Here's the 14 biggest books that have influenced my business career. Now for context, these are some of the biggest things when I actually think about when I read them, really made an impact on our company going from 0 to about 2.5 million a month, which is still where we're about right now. We've been plateaued there for a little bit. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. The first one, and this is my favorite book of all time. I'm literally reading it now for the 9th time, is Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson, which is a pen name for Mark Ford. So this book talks about really these 4 stages of going from 0 to $100 million a year. And you know, what's funny is if you listen to several different other business gurus out there, and there's nothing wrong with this, but they are reteaching a lot of his stuff in a differently packaged way. Of course, they are making it more specific to their industry, they're improving upon it. But even me, you know, when I'm translating the different phases of growth for the companies we train, I'm always referring back to Mark Ford. He obviously was the co-founder of Agora, which is a $1.5 billion a year company, and they're really the biggest, to my knowledge, information publishing company in the world. So if you're a coach, consultant, agency, you sell courses, you sell information, you sell ebooks, whatever it is, right? You're in the information space, you gotta learn from the best, right? You gotta learn from people who have built over $1 billion company. The next one, also by Mark Ford. It's called Great Leads. I read this on Kindle, so I don't have the physical book. I read mostly on Kindle. But Great Leads is essentially the 6 best ways to start a sales message. And obviously, you know, Agora was went from 0 to 1.5 billion a year. Most of their business is built off of big ideas with great headlines and leads to suck people into the direct response selling copy, right? It's all a direct response copy. It's not something to where they're doing brand. Okay, and I'm not saying direct response is better than brand. I actually think brand is far more powerful done correctly. It's harder to build, but you can make a tremendous amount of wealth with direct response even if you're not starting out with any experience. So with Great Leads, it was the first book I read that I can actually say took me from a pretty mediocre copywriter, if not just plain bad, to pretty damn good. And I've revisited it multiple times. To recap, the 6 ways to start a sales message. There's an offer lead, a promise lead, a problem lead, a proclamation lead, a secret lead, and a story lead. I've used all 6 with tremendous success. So the next one is 2 different books by Jim Collins. And really anything by Jim Collins you read is gonna be a no-brainer. The first one is Good to Great here, you can see. And then the second one is Built to Last. Now with both companies, when I think about my biggest learning lessons from these, you know, with both of they kind of meld together. I would say both books really speaks onto the importance of team, the importance of leadership, getting the right people on the bus, having the right mission, vision, and values, and create something to where it can ascend past just the founder. You know, that's really what Built to Last is about, is how do you create something that can ascend generations and keep the mission, vision, and values intact, and those things you can't compromise, and the company can still innovate. So it's very, very good, and Good to Great is more on the side of how to get through that breakthrough. And so both books are tremendous, and in fact, you know, Good to Great's on my list to reread recently here in the future. The next 2 books are also by the same author, and that guy's name is Patrick Lencioni. So the first one is 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and the second one is the 4 Obsessions of an Extraordinary Executive. Both of these books, in very similar ways, talk about team and unity, and specifically how to create functionality and unity in the leadership team, which, believe it or not, even though those can be your highest performing people in your entire company, they're the hardest team to get in sync. And I can tell you this from personal experience. It's so funny because you would think your most highest performance people, the leadership team, would be the most in sync team. It actually is the opposite because they are incentivized a lot of times in different ways. So for instance, your client success department has different incentives than your sales, and a lot of times they can be antagonistic. So it's very easy to keep your client success team all in sync, but very hard to keep the sales director and the client success director in sync. And really, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team and the 4 Obsessions of Extraordinary Executive is about creating unity and functionality in teams, and also for yourself to become a great leader. I really view Patrick as the source material when it comes to leadership in teams by far. So the next one is a copywriting book. It's called Take Their Money by Kyle Milligan. A lot of these books, I mean, hopefully it's a compliment to Kyle. I know him personally that I'm throwing this up there, but I'm just telling you from experience, you know, I have written copy that's generated cash at this point, probably about $35 million, which should be tremendously more by the end of the year because we're churning out a huge amount of revenue right now, and we're still expanding and scaling here in 2022. But I will say, you know, Kyle's book about this is about what books impacted me. Take Their Money was one of his copywriting books that, because we do so much direct response, it just tremendously made my copy so much better. I mean, Great Leads kind of put me on the map in terms of I was able to write sales promotions. Kyle's book really took me to where now I believe I'm probably one of the best copywriters in our sort of high ticket coaching and consulting industry. So his book is phenomenal. You know, it is a no-brainer to read if you are in the direct response industry. For context on Kyle, he also was one of the most successful copywriters ever at Agora Financial, which brings me to the next book. The most successful copywriter at Agora Financial of all time, to my knowledge, was Ovado Albuquerque. And he wrote a book called A 16-Word Sales Letter. He was actually Kyle's mentor. And this book, you can read it in one sitting. It is tremendously good. And it's just really about how he was able to create promotion after promotion after promotion that just absolutely blew away all the competition. So again, if you're in any sort of direct response industry where you're using direct response, this book is a no-brainer. It again is one of the books that I can really credit to making me a tremendous amount of money because direct response is so important in our company. Yo guys, hope you're enjoying the video. If you want to learn more about how you can use the skills that I'm talking about in this video, so the skills of persuasion, the skills of sales to get a remote career to where you could make $10, $20, $30,000 a month, if not more, working from anywhere in the world, simply just with your laptop and an iPhone, there is a book a call link below. It should say book with the Remote Closing Academy. Book a call link below. You can go ahead and check that out, speak with somebody on my team and see if we can help you. Now back to the video. The next book, a little bit of a different turn here. It's called Seeking Wisdom. And I think it's by Peter Bevlin, but I might be screwing that up. Seeking Wisdom. So this book, I mean, you will get smarter just from reading this book. It is one of those books to where, you know, as you're reading it, you will notice yourself in conversations and in your coaching calls showing up and just thinking at a higher level than you've ever thought before. I think it's tremendously good. It basically puts together the best learnings and teachings from Darwin and from Munger and from Warren Buffett and from some of these other folks, you know, that are billionaires or philosophers, and it puts it all in one book and really just walks through, you know, all of these different things, everything from learning about evolution to learning about statistics and probability and investing, and it's incredible. I mean, it's a book also worth revisiting, and you will learn so much about people and about psychology and about the world through this book. So that is a no-brainer. You got to pick it up. The next one, Yes by Robert Cialdini. I wanted to throw something by Robert Cialdini on here because all three of his books, Persuasion, Influence, and Yes, are really good. They're must-reads for anybody, especially in direct response. What I will say is Yes is the best one I've ever read, simply because, you know, Robert, if you know his background, he wrote Influence actually for the consumers, not for the businesses. It was so the consumers could see the persuasion strategies that were, you know, so they could protect themselves, opposed to, he wrote it for the businesses trying to influence customers to buy. However, it was received by businesses way better, and, you know, marketers by way more than it was consumers. So eventually he wrote Yes, which is basically taking the principles of influence and teaching them how to put it in practice. And I actually found that book to be the best one of Cialdini I ever read. I read it this year. I can't believe it took me so long to read it. The next one, and this one is not talked about a lot, is Organizational Physics. And I forget the author's name off the top of my head, but it's Organizational Physics. So this book is by somebody who essentially has a high background in physics. And as you know, physics can really explain anything and everything in the universe, right? And it's really the only law that you need to abide by, right? That's why if you hear about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, right, a lot of times they talk about first principles and they talk about these different mental models and thinking patterns that come from physics. And so I had this in my intention one time to be looking for a book that really applied physics to how to grow a business, because I wanted to be able to think through a lot of problems myself and be able to actually just have a clear amount of thinking of how to diagnose our constraints and how to get to the next level and actually fix the problems that are keeping us from growth. And on Kindle one time, I found Organizational Physics. I was like, this looks great. And it was a phenomenal book. So it really goes over the physics around a business, what allows it to scale, product life cycles, employee life cycles, business life cycles, how to create innovation, how to get started. I mean, it is a tremendous book. I would put it more along the lines of helping you learn about team and building team and managing team, but it is great. You learn about the forces of entropy and how to manage entropy and the importance of mission and vision and values. It's phenomenal. The next one is High Output Management by Andy S. Grove. I believe he was the COO or CEO, one of those, at Intel. And he really wrote what many people refer to as the Bible of operations. right, in management. Okay, so this book's tremendous for a lot of different reasons. Particularly what I got out of it is how to conduct one-on-ones, how to train employees, how to motivate employees, how to hold people accountable. Very, very good book. Highly recommended. You probably heard it before. The next one is the Almanac by Naval Ravikant. So he's a billionaire, founder of AngelList, extremely smart person. I mean, ridiculously smart. And essentially the Almanac is a transcription of a tweet storm that he went on a tweet storm about how to get rich. So he had all of these tweets, and then they did a podcast elaborating on all the tweets, transcribed it into a book called the Almanac. And it is phenomenal. And what I love about it is it's very principle based. So you can take anything that you learn from this and really translate it to whatever type of business that you're in. And then the last one, I felt like I couldn't leave it out because I'm actually rereading it right now, is this one, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. So again, you know, a lot of my books, obviously, I'm giving you a lot of copywriting and marketing books. This is all about what's influenced me. And at the end of the day, we are in the direct response industry. And if you are a coach, consultant, agency, service provider, a lot of times you are selling through direct response. So you need to understand this stuff. Eugene is like the OG. I mean, that book is really the source material, along with Claude Hopkins and a few other people, of the direct response industry. And just, he was a giant. And really what he pioneered was the idea of different levels of awareness with prospects, and also different levels of product sophistication and prospects. And especially, I think the biggest idea of the book is that you don't create desire, you have to channel existing desire in such a way to create demand for your product. And that one big idea alone has been responsible for a promotion that at this point has done us over $20 million. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I think that was 14 books, and we'll see you in the next video.